Christian Wood was the guy, and the Lakers ended up landing their guy in Christian Wood. This was what the Lakers were patiently waiting on. This was the big question mark, right? To me, it was an absolute no-brainer. It made a world of sense. The Lakers are the best destination for Christian Wood to rebrand himself and kind of remove that stigma that he has right now, right? He's not struggling to get a roster spot because of his talent. The guy is undoubtedly talented, right? A legit 17 and 8 guy, a guy for a big man that can stretch the floor, knock down the three ball efficiently and effectively, play multiple positions, do multiple things. Like, it's not his talent. He is a locker room issue. He is a headache. He is a problem. The juice is not worth the squeeze, right? That's kind of what it's been. But at a vet minimum, it's so low risk, high reward, it would be silly for the Lakers not to do this. And for Christian Wood, this is the best opportunity for him to, one, get enough spotlight and get enough shine to really rebrand himself and put himself in a position to have success as we continue going forward, right? And to kind of remove and change that narrative for him to get a bigger contract next season or the season after, right? He could opt back in next season for $3 million if it's kind of like a little shaky. And the only two destinations, at least for me personally, that made sense for him was the Lakers and Miami, right? Because Miami with the Heat culture and stuff like that, but he's not going to get the shine that he would get with the Lakers and Miami. So this was a win-win for both sides. Lakers get somebody that's incredibly talented, and it's so low risk, high reward. It's absolutely worth it. Christian Wood gets to go and prove himself that he can be a team guy, buy into whatever is needed, and he's going to have to, right? He's going to have to prove himself because this roster is insanely deep, insanely talented, insanely versatile, has a ton of size, right? Christian Wood very likely is going to play a good majority, right? I expect him to get 25 minutes a game, roughly, maybe 20 minutes, but he'll be somewhere in that 20 to 25 minute a game area. But I wouldn't be shocked in the same breath that there are times where he might get 15, right? Or there might be nights where they tell him, hey, we want to get a look at these guys, take the night off, right? And he's going to have to be willing to accept and buy into whatever role is asked of him and not complain and not gripe, right? Darvin Ham is going to have his work cut out for him and trying to figure out and navigate why and how he can get X, Y, and Z player on the court for X amount of time, try different lineups. I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of experimentation early on. And that's fine, right? Earlier in the season, that's when you want to do those experiments. That's when you want to try to throw out different lineups and see which groups work. It's that post-trade deadline, post-NBA All-Star break, that's when you really start locking in your playoff rotation and when you start trying to push for that seeding. And I expect the Lakers to be a top 3 seed this year. I think anything less than that is a bit disappointing, just with all this talent. I don't think they're going to care so much about getting the 1 seed, just simply on the fact that, like, you know, they're like LeBron and AD are probably going to miss 20 plus games this year. A team like Sacramento, they're probably not winning anything. So them getting the 1 seed means everything for them, especially for a team that outside of last year hadn't made the playoffs even in like 15 years or whatever it was. So there's a little more incentive for a team like that than a team like the Lakers. But there's no reason the Lakers shouldn't be a top 2 or 3 team in the Western Conference and a top 3 team overall in the entire league, right? And so if they can do that, that would be great. And Christian Wood, if he's a big part of that, can start fixing his brand and moving towards his future, right? Whether it's with the Lakers or somebody else, right? We've seen Lonnie Walker and Malik Monk and several of these guys kind of take that shot, take that chance, take that risk, right? Some it's worked out for better than others, but that's the idea, right? You go to Lakers, it's got the bright lights, it's got the spotlight, it's got everything you need to really create enough shine and enough buzz for you to have some success, right? And it's solely up to Christian Wood, right? Christian Wood has to deliver on his end. And I imagine that they had a conversation. I'm sure Darvin Ham was there, and I'm sure Christian Wood asked questions like, what is my role going to be? How is my role going to look? What do you envision for me? How can I impact X, Y, and Z, right? And I'm sure that there was a conversation of like, hey, this is what we envision. Probably something around the lines of like Brooke Lopez in Milwaukee, right? Because Darvin Ham is from there. Anthony Davis and you can kind of be like a Giannis and Brooke Lopez type deal. And we need you to buy in on the defensive end. We need you to really lock down and focus. And if you can be a positive locker room presence, then that is something that is going to be very impactful, and you're going to have that success with us. You're contending for NBA championships, which is something else, right? Christian Wood has always been on bad teams, right? Like to kind of stick up for him a little bit. It's not like he's been in the best situations and in the best cultures and the best environments. And now he's on a team with the Lakers where you have an Anthony Davis that he can learn from, right? He has a LeBron James and a Darvin Ham who he's about as big of a player coach as you get. He's a guy that can get pretty much anybody to buy in. I mean, he even got Russ to buy in on the defensive end and accept a bench role and stuff like that when nobody thought he ever would, right? Like he's a guy that he's just got the gift of gab, right? And he can convince you that you can walk on water, right? It's just, that's his specialty. And so he has the culture now. He has the stability. He's on a team that it's championship or bust. We're not settling for, hey, it was a tough matchup in the second round and we lost in a tough 7 or the Western Conference Finals. No, this is, you win an NBA championship, but this season was a big failure. You got the talent, you got the depth, you got the versatility, you got the tools, you got the 2 superstars. Like, you got 2 top 10 players with all this insane depth. Like, this type of roster shouldn't even be able to be built, and it was. Christian Wood, if he makes that impact, and he's a huge factor as to why the Lakers are successful this season and win an NBA championship, this dude's going to have no problem getting paid. Right? But that's what he needs to do. He needs to change the stigma that is centered around him. And the Lakers just were a no-brainer for him. It made so much sense. I got a lot of comments, which I really appreciate, of people like, man, you called it. You were so adamant about him coming. And it wasn't because, I talked to him personally or anything. It's just no other team made sense. Right? Could he have gotten paid more? Like, San Antonio needs to spend some money. Could San Antonio have thrown him like $10 million, something like that? And he probably would have played 35 minutes a game and, been on a bad team again and whatnot? Sure. But if it's a failure again and he starts, that locker room talk starts picking up and it's like he can't even play for Pop, this dude could be out of the league. Again, he's not having problems getting a job because he's not talented. The dude has more than enough talent. He can't just let cooler heads prevail at times. And all it takes is for him to have another bad season of just that stigma, and he could be completely out of the league, right? Or he becomes one of those guys that just gets a deal just to get a deal and is buried at the end of the bench because teams don't want to deal with him or whatever, right? Or he's a guy that's just getting tossed around in trades and added money, and it's just like, is that really the career he wants? He's back home. He's in about as good of a situation as you could be in for a player, right? He's going to get the playing time. He's going to get the opportunity. He's going to get the big spotlight. He's going to get all the shine, all the attention. Everything you could ask for has just been handed to Christian Wood on a silver platter. It didn't make any sense for him to go anywhere else. There were all the reports of him, he's waiting for more money. He's waiting for this. Right? And maybe he was to an extent. I think he was trying to wait to see like what develops. And I think everything's just taking too long and he's just like, all right, I need to get locked up by training camp. Maybe even the Lakers told him, right? LeBron James training camp is probably another week or two. I'm sure that, he probably said like, hey man, like, we want to get you on board. We want to get you here already because we want to start, prepping this team and getting everything together, right? And I'm sure he just said, all right, I'm tired of waiting. Like, let's lock it up. Let's sign up. Let's do this. Let's go push for this championship. Right? It made no sense otherwise. To me, it was Lakers or bust. Because if he goes to a different place and he fails miserably and it just doesn't work out, he can kiss his career goodbye. But if he comes to the Lakers and he buys in, he's set, whether it's with the Lakers or somebody else. The only other destination that made some sense was the Miami Heat. But he's not going to get the same level of shine as he would with the Lakers. I mean, look at Gabe Vincent. Gabe Vincent literally was on a press tour after he got signed by the Lakers. He wasn't doing that in Miami, and he was a huge factor for them. I mean, look at like the shine that Austin Reeves is getting, right? If Christian Wood is a big part of this Lakers foundation and winning, this dude's going to get all the attention. He can get all the media hype. He's going to be able to remove that stigma. You know what makes people forget really quickly? Winning. They win a bunch of games and they win an NBA championship. All of that past narrative of Christian Wood completely goes out the window and nobody cares anymore because you are an NBA champion and you were a big part of that. This was the best choice. This was always the choice for him. I never saw him going anywhere else. That's why I kept preaching about it. That's why I kept talking about it. I got all the comments from people that are like, oh, it's not going to happen. Like, you just keep talking about it. It's like, he's going to go elsewhere. It doesn't make sense for this. Doesn't make sense for that. And guess what? He's a Laker. So one of us was right. And it wasn't because I talked to him personally or anything like that. It wasn't because I had any inside information. It wasn't anything like that. It's because it's the only place that made sense for him. And now here he is, and I'm rooting for him. I want to see him have success. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? Do you think, this was always the best choice? This was a no-brainer? Have a feel whatever your thoughts are. I'd love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments.